Huge thanks to Netmarble for sponsoring today's video. Alright, Game of Thrones, do you guys remember that show? Pretty much everybody and their grandma used to tune in every week on HBO not too long ago. So imagine my surprise when Netmarble reached out to check out their upcoming Game of Thrones Kingsroad. This is a fully fledged action RPG. It features a class system, a deep narrative with characters you love from the show, and so far it looks pretty dope. Plus, it's free to play and the devs promise no pay to win elements either. So for those reasons, I'm excited to bring you this video today. We're gonna have a first look at the game and some thoughts. And the game will be available on both mobile and PC, so PC players be sure to add it to your wish list. Now the game starts with the character selection screen that lets you choose between 3 starting classes, each with their own backstories and different playstyles. We have the Knight, the Assassin, and the Sellsword. So if you want your own version of Jon Snow or just enjoy great swords in general, then Knight is the best option for you. I started with Assassin, but I will probably switch to this one just because of the cape, as well as for its cool skill that lets you set your sword ablaze, which helps it on to set enemies on fire. Then we have Assassin. This is your fast-paced, dual dagger user, but one that also uses throwing knives against enemies. Perfect for anybody who enjoys a nimble playstyle. And finally, we have the Sellsword, a slower but more deliberate and very brutal two-handed axe warrior. But even so, it can quickly overwhelm enemies with series of very quick axe swings. But once you've decided on a class, you can then go ahead and further customize that character. And I'm not going to lie, for a game like this, it's actually featuring a very extensive character creation. Faces look pretty good, plus you can also go ahead and morph them in real time by just dragging your mouse over different parts of the face. Plus, of course, you have other options in there that you can mix and match to create almost any character you wish. But once your backstory is set and you chose a name, this is when the story kickstarts around the time Season 4 also happens in the show. So I got to travel at Castle Black, then beyond the wall, I fought some White Walkers, which yes, are pretty much immortal to normal steel as they are in the lore, so they would constantly rise up again, which made them very difficult to handle. And I also got to meet very important characters. I mean, it immediately starts with Jon Snow at the start, since he's obviously at the wall around this time. Sam Tarly too, but pretty much a lot of the major characters are in there. Some of which I loved and some of which I hated from the show, so it's very interesting to see how we can interact with them in different ways, even have conversations and pick different lore options. And this is when you get to learn about the game's combat. This is a purely action RPG, so the combat reflects it in the fact that it's very impactful, very crunchy, and very satisfying. So you've got your normal but also heavy attacks, which you can also combine in a sequence to result in powerful combos that you can further then upgrade for other effects. Hitting enemies enough will eventually deplete their stun bar, which you can then take advantage of with a finisher ability called Mighty Strikes. As if that wasn't satisfying enough, sometimes when you perform these brutal finishers, other nearby enemies may get scared and fall on their backs, pretty much getting opened to other finishing moves that just makes combat feel like a joy. But besides that, as you hit enemies with normal combos and normal hits, you also build up rage, which you can then consume to cast other very strong skills that you unlock as you level up. Stealth is also in the game. You can assassinate targets if you go in undetected and especially from the back. Though it's not too complex, it felt a little bit more simplistic. The focus definitely seems to be on action. And like I said, all of these abilities can actually be leveled up, both the normal and the advanced combos, as well as the extra abilities that you can unlock along the way. And especially so, it seems that combos have the best level progression, because as you increase their levels, you also open up secondary skill trees for them with different abilities. For example, in the case of the Knight class, I picked a secondary ability that would also set the target on fire whenever I performed any of the combos in it. And in this case, I definitely love that, but you can also go with others that may increase critical strikes or give you other buffs along the way. Progression here definitely seems to be a strong point, and eventually you will also unlock a skill tree. However, this one is mostly reserved to passive stat increases like damage, critical strikes, rage generation, and so on and so forth. But after the prologue, the game opens up truly, and surprisingly for a game like this, the map is actually quite big. In the build that I got to play, I had access to the north, but looking down, it seems that the entire map of Westeros is actually there. So likely more areas will get added over time. But I got to see many iconic places brought back to life in the game setting. From Castle Black and Beyond the Wall at the start, to the Winterfell Fortress of House Stark, but there were plenty other locations as well. And the open world doesn't lack in terms of side activities either. You have side quests, you have villages in need of liberation, bounties, puzzle ruins, and a half dozen other similar side activities that are worth it, at least in terms of rewards that you actually get. But probably the most challenging of them all is likely to be the Altar of Memories. This is pretty much your multiplayer co-op dungeon that you can also matchmake for. And this is going to feature fights against different mythical creatures from the Game of Thrones lore, but as far as I can tell, it also seems to provide some of the best rewards in the game, from random legendaries all the way to other items that can help a ton. There's even a neat mechanic in here that you can use to wish upon different item categories, as well as set effects that you can earn at the end of that match. And the fights also seem to be rather challenging, will likely require team coordination, and they also seem rather engaging. So yeah, this is something that you can actually do on top of everything else. Now, besides this, I also wanted to highlight the in-game cosmetics. Obviously, this game launches on PC as well as mobile, so it does feature an in-game shop. So there were a number of outfits specific to each of the three classes. All of them had a different selection of purely cosmetic armor sets that you could go ahead and just get from here. Besides that, there's also mounts, including a wolf mount that I really enjoyed because it just goes so well with the theme. But in this case, there's also additional attires for them that you can also go ahead and use to customize. Leaving aside the fact that there's also blacksmithing in this game, so as you collect resources, as you earn them from completing missions, you're going to eventually also have the ability to craft better and better gear. And sometimes you can get lucky and get a schematic for like an epic armor or something, which can really kickstart a build and make you really strong. And by the way, on that note, all of the gear is shared with all of the characters you create. So a lot of the stuff, like for example, jewelry that you earn on high level characters, if they aren't class locked, you can use on a low level character to boost your leveling even quicker if you start anew. Also, one thing I wanted to mention is that many of the side quests I've completed offered a choice selection at the end, how to actually resolve things. Sometimes maybe I was chasing a bounty, so I had the option to either set them free or take them back to the bailiff. Equally, I was also able to, for example, find a wildling, and she really begged for me to help her. So in this case, I could choose to help her or just alert the guards nearby that were searching for her. And from what I'm able to tell, it seems that many of these decisions actually matter a lot in terms of the rewards that you get. So sometimes going the extra mile can actually work quite a lot in your benefit. So yeah, game so far looks promising, but let me know down below in the comments what do you guys think about Game of Thrones Kingsroad. And on that note, also make sure to follow the links down below and check the game out, as well as to wishlist it on Steam. Again, huge thanks to the team for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.